Yeah, it's really flashing more blue than green now.
Oh, so it's only got a little bit more.
Yeah.
I think we're going Yorktown and up that way, aren't we?
Yeah.
Now, we'll have to learn on the road, won't it?
Yeah.
Welcome to a sparkling edition of Plank of the Week, and in fact, it is the last Plank of the Week of 2020. I think we're all probably very happy to see the end of 2020, but I'm delighted to say, for the very first time in News UK and for Plank of the Week, we have Carol Decker with us, a genuine, proper celebrity. Right,
pop star,
and a proper pop star that
Yeah.
we've, the like of which we don't normally see here. So we're very grateful for you coming in.
I'm a
Carol.
ruler in my own track.
Thank you very much indeed. Jerry Hayes is also here. He's definitely
Tory
not a celebrity.
scum.
but
Tory
he's-
scum.
But he's probably defended a few celebrities in the past.
Oh, yeah.
All sorts of nefarious
Oh,
activities.
yeah.
Jerry, give us your first nomination for Plank of the Week.
Well, he hasn't got very long with us, I'm afraid. And that is President Trump. No, he's not dying. He's not dying.
I mean,
poor Carol
you
was just
lawyers
gonna
have
say,
got
"Oh,
absolutely no
never
kind of
mind."
shred
the
of
Rona
decency, have you?
again?
No
No, he's
shred.
not, he's not dead yet, Carol. But, I mean, why can't he just say, I lost the election?
painful.
Why does he have to put up Julie, they or he or them,
Rudy
Giuliano, who hasn't been in court for 22 years.
Do you know,
Has got
he's a
terrible hair
guy,
dye.
talking of how Boris did a great job as Mayor of London. I mean, Rudolph Giuliani did a fantastic job.
Fantastic.
Not just of being Mayor of New York, but
Yep.
also of being the US Attorney. When I was living there, he was prosecuting the mafia.
was good.
He was going
It was
after
good.
I
all the
was in
insider
New York
trading.
in the mid-80s.
Yeah.
And he was quite the hero.
Oh, he was, totally.
It's
Yeah.
like he's not the same person now.
Yeah,
It's
and I mean, that
crazy.
press conference where the dye is running down his face,
Oh, just
you just think,
unbelievable.
Jesus, give it up, man.
And then he brought some woman along as his star witness who was out of her tree.
Right.
She was very, very drunk. More than a couple of sherries at luncheon, I'm afraid.
I mean, I was willing to accept that there was something slightly awry about that election, because it's still quite difficult for me to believe that Joe Biden gets more votes than Barack Obama.
It's not surprising.
And that so many people who voted by mail voted for him.
But you know why? Because Trump said to his supporters, don't use the mail ballot. And what happened was Biden said, do use it. Now, what happened? More people.
No, but the
voted
numbers
Biden.
are huge, though.
Oh,
I
they're
mean, more
enormous.
people voted
They're
in this
enormous.
election than have ever voted.
But something you probably don't know, I am the expert in this country on it, and I tried to stop the 2005 general election as a barrister representing various people, because I did the great postal ballot fraud in Birmingham.
Did you?
Yeah.
So there has been postal ballot fraud.
Oh, over here. Oh, God, it was wide
See,
open.
I've always
wide open.
voted postal ballot because I'm
Have you?
on the road.
Right.
And now my daughter is of voting age, so we registered her, and hers got declined for recent elections because she hasn't figured out her signature yet. Because she's sort of
bless.
still trying a few options,
Yes.
you know. But they were on it like a bonnet. You know, they said, no, don't recognise your signature, and her vote got declined.
Well,
So-
you obviously don't live in Tower Hamlets,
But I
because
heard
that's not what they do there.
No.
I heard a political pundit on the radio the other day, an American pundit, and he said the reason that Trump is keeping this going is it's considered campaigning. So funds keep coming in.
Yeah.
And
So-
he's broke.
And also, they
Well,
talk
I don't
about
think he's
this.
broke.
You want to set up this
He's
news
not broke
network.
like us.
No, I mean, it's
No.
not like,
I mean,
when
no.
we go to the pub after this.
Yeah, exactly.
And we say, who's buying the round? I
Yeah.
mean, he's not worried about that
on
kind of
all
money.
separate tables.
Of course,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Great
Well, we might
minds.
even sit outside, because
Yeah.
obviously that would be
Of
a sensible
course.
thing
Yeah.
to do.
Of course.
You know, where it might be chilly, but listen, you've got to do your bit.
Yeah.
But so, are you putting him in as Plank of the Week on the grounds that he's a plank this week, or just generally?
He's a lifetime award winner. He is a planker to end all planker. Little planktons surround him, but he is a planker. And in fact, Joe Biden, what he's going to do when he gets into the White House, and I think it's today that the Electoral College are actually...
The Electoral College declared it, I think, yesterday
Oh,
officially.
it was yesterday,
Yeah.
was it? Yeah. Well, still, he doesn't accept that he lost. And he did lose. And Biden is going to have to...
He didn't
say-
lose by much, though. That's the point.
Well, when you look at Trump and Clinton, Clinton actually had the popular vote by
Yeah,
about
none of that
3
matters,
million.
though.
No, it doesn't matter at all. Whereas Biden got the popular vote by about 4 or 5.
Yeah, which also doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
Most of the wins in
But-
each state that
yeah,
both of them won
but the
were
fact-
very, very close.
But the fact of the
Right?
matter is, people voted in America. Voting is sacrosanct. And this guy has defiled it. Whatever your politics are, he has defiled
Oh, I thought he was great fun. I
Well,
really
of course,
did.
it's great fun as a
Fun.
journalist.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But as
he is fun, and there's a lot of comedians are going to miss him.
Yeah, they
People
are.
have spent the last few
Absolutely.
years slagging him
Well, the
off,
BBC comedians particularly are going to have nothing to do, are they?
I personally have always, again, going back to the times we
Yes.
didn't know each other then. When I was in New York, he was all over the place
Yeah.
with Ivana, and I just thought he was a crass,
Yes.
horrible individual.
Well, do you know
back
what?
Then.
You're absolutely right, because when I was living in New York in the 80s, he was quintessentially the guy that turned up at every party.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody hated him.
Yeah.
But I grew to sort of like him, partly because everybody hated him
Yeah.
in this country, because he became this kind of bogeyman figure, and people said, "Oh, look at what he's doing now. He's disgusting. He's defiling," as you said, the presidential, White House. Isn't it dreadful? I actually thought that was quite funny. And because of that, I mean, I don't think he's a very interesting or nice individual, but I kind of supported him and I wanted him to win
Yeah.
as a result.
But it's interesting. We must have been in New York at the same time, because I was staying at the Plaza Hotel,
Yeah.
and this guy
was
came
at
up to
Warwick.
me, Donald Trump, who, to be honest, I'd never heard of, said, "Hey,
Did you ever go to the Oak Bar there?
Probably, but I could
Because it
never
could
remember
be a
getting
very
out of it.
expensive place to go, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, well, other people were paying. Thank heaven.
No, I'm not talking about the drinks.
Oh, I see.
Talk about who you meet there.
Oh, I see. Oh,
It was
thanks.
literally riddled
Oh,
with
dear.
prostitutes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Oh, but
I'm
anyway,
afraid so.
this guy comes up to me. He says, "Hey, you're that MP who's staying with me." I says, "Yes." He says, "Will you come to Jared's birthday party?"
Oh, yeah.
He was 12, and he
Wow.
was dressed like, not Donald Trump, but Jared, dressed like little Lord Fauntleroy. There were all sorts of clowns and people on stilts, and it was all for the parents
Right.
to impress.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
poor kids were having a rotten time.
Right.
Yeah.
That was when FAO Schwartz was the big toy shop
Oh, I
opposite,
used to
love
love
that.
that.
which is not there anymore.
Welcome
It's
to
an
my
Apple store now.
world. Welcome
Yeah,
to my
it's an
world.
Apple store now.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Which is really unfortunate. But no, listen, New York in the 80s was my kind of
Oh, it's a
hunting
great
ground.
place.
It was the most fantastic
Great
place to
place.
be. And it's not like that anymore.
No, I loved it, and it was bankrupt.
Yeah.
I went there. I remember going down the big boulevards in the cabs, and there were sheets of metal across
Yeah.
all the potholes.
Right.
And you bang, and you nearly bang your head
Yeah.
on the roof of the cab.
Yeah.
But New York is.
And the streets was the only place I've ever really been where the streets steam.
Yeah, I
and the
loved it.
steam's
And they
coming
had
out
those
the street.
little
You just think,
chimneys
this is great.
coming
I
out of
loved
the...
it.
Yeah.
And the air
Yeah.
conditioning units hanging
Yeah.
at the back of grotty
Absolutely.
apartments. No, I just loved it. It had
And
so much
Trump
character.
will very possibly go into sort of hiding, if you like, because the word is that come the inauguration, he's not going to be there. So people are saying, I can't believe he's not going to be there. I mean, hopefully he will go. But some people are saying he's going to go to Mar-a-Lago in Florida for Christmas, and he's not going to come back to Washington. So he's not even ever going to go back to the
He'll
White
be
House.
there with his big chin sticking
You
out.
would think, wouldn't
Well,
you?
He's fed up, yeah.
I mean, amazingly enough, actually, I don't think he's actually made it onto Plank of the Week at all this year.
Really?
Yeah, because we've only been doing this year. We started in January, and it
I
was
did
an
one
idea.
in July. That was
You've
first
done
out of
quite.
lockdown.
You've actually done quite a few.
Yeah.
You know, and in fact, you are invited. I think I've told you this to the Plank of the Year
Oh.
readiness, but we're not sure yet if we can get you in because we'll
Well, I
be in
think,
tier 3 by
like
then.
you say, from a journalistic point of view and a comedy point, he's been an anathema to the awful, hideous,
Yes.
woke, PC
Yes.
wave tsunami that's trying to drown us all. So from that point of view, I'd agree with you that he's a disruptor.
Yes.
And it was great to see some of these nauseating people.
And let's face it, Biden
Get
comes from that background of,
Yeah.
he's been in the White House for 8
Yeah.
years with Barack Obama, achieved absolutely nothing,
But-
right? Square root of
But in
sweet
nine-
FA.
In 1981, when we were at war with Argentina, there was one senator
Hmm.
who got up and got on TV and said, America should support the United Kingdom.
Yeah.
It was Joe Biden.
Well, President Ronald Reagan was also quite helpful.
Oh, he was quite tricky, actually.
Yeah, but he was helpful.
Oh, he was
in the
helpful
end.
in the end because
Yeah.
she battered it.
Yeah, of course she did.
She battered it.
Yeah, exactly right. But Biden, to me, is a fraud and will always be a fraud and therefore will not be a good president. But there we are.
Who knows?
But we can put him
Who
in
knows?
Plank of the Week next month when
Maybe.
he's inaugurated.
Maybe.
Carol, who's your first nominee?
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, a beautiful
Nice.
name. So she is an American-Mexican U.S. Democratic representative for one of the boroughs in New York. And
She used to be a waitress, I think, didn't she?
I don't know that much about her.
Yeah. I think that's what she came from, this kind of world of being, I'm an ordinary working woman.
that's great.
Which is great.
That's great.
She's quite annoying, though, isn't
Yeah.
she?
Well, yes. because there's a great big food company called Goya, big food
Yes.
company in America.
Yes.
And the family that founded it, oh gosh, like 100 years ago, I think it's really, really old. They were from Spanish, Puerto Rican immigrant
Right.
background. So the current CEO, who's the great grandson of those people, his name is Robert Unanue, or Unanu, I'm not quite sure how to pronounce it. So he's a big Trump supporter. So he goes to the White House in July, I think, and gave a big speech where he said, I'm the descendant of immigrants. I've done brilliantly. You're
Right.
the descendant of immigrants. You're a fantastic president. I really support you. So Alexandria, who is known as the AOC, that's her
Yes.
Twitter handle, that's what everybody calls her, she went on her Twitter feed and said, you're a disgrace to our Spanish heritage, you know, and urged everybody to boycott Goya food.
Oh, for God's sake. Because they make beans and things, don't they? I've seen cans in supermarkets.
So consequently, sales soared, and then they made her Employee of the Month,
Brilliant.
which I just thought was hysterical on their
Very
social
good.
media.
That is hilarious,
She
isn't
was
it?
bullying. That's
Yeah,
bullying.
but this is this whole
Yeah.
cancel culture thing. The
Yeah.
left, and she's quite left wing. Isn't she the one that's also known as a member of the Squad?
Yes,
There's
there's 4
women,
women, yeah.
one of whom Trump used to refer to as having been born in Lebanon or somewhere like that, or some Muslim
Yeah.
country. He's always kind of alluding to the fact that she's a terrorist, right? Which is clearly wrong. But the Squad is quite a powerful kind of
there's 4
thing,
very
isn't it?
forthright
Yeah.
female politicians,
Right.
and they,
But for America, they're very left wing.
yes, they are. And I don't know that much about them because I don't follow American politics in depth, but I don't like that sort of, because your opinion is different to mine,
Yeah.
I'm going to try and take you down.
Exactly.
It's wrong.
And it's only them that do it.
Yeah.
If those people on the right had the same attitude, there'd be all sorts of people getting cancelled on the left. But the right people from the right don't tend to do that. It's like, when you get Ben and Jerry's saying things about, saving the the migrants coming across on dinghies from Calais, and how we should all be kind to them, forgetting to mention that they're actually owned by Unilever, who have their own slave trade going on all over the world, and who actually sell, I think, in India, skin whitening products, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're not holier than thou, but they just pretend to be.
Watch out, watch your own glass house.
Yeah.
And also, I hate the way everything has become weaponised.
Yes.
Everything. If you're not with us, you're against
Yes.
us. If you're not a this, you're a that. And
Right.
life is more nuanced than
Of course
that.
it is.
Also,
why wouldn't you buy a can of beans because some guy likes Donald Trump? I mean, what are you going to buy instead?
as long as the beans are good.
Yeah.
I
It's
don't
virtue signal.
care.
It really is.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
It's the worst
Virtue
kind.
signal.
Yeah.
Awful.
It's the
Yeah.
worst kind. Well, I'm going to go route one with my first nomination. It's Prince Andrew.
Oh.
Who bizarrely won. I was just looking at last year's, because this whole project Plank of the Week came out of a list that I made last year for Plank of the Year, and Prince Andrew won it last year because it was very recent, about a year ago. Around about this time was when he gave that interview to Emily Maitlis, which incredibly he thought went quite well. Right.
I thought that
Came
went
out,
quite well.
and all of his sort of sycophantic aides were like,
Yeah.
"Well done, sir.
Yeah.
That was really good. You've certainly laid all those ghosts to rest."
Still
And it's
not
like,
sweating.
really? You reckon? You think?
I don't sweat.
And yeah, well, not only does he not sweat, and that
I
was the
do.
first lie that he told. It turns out that he's also now lied because the Mail have done this big investigation
Yeah,
this week.
Stephen Wright, he's
yes,
great.
who's great, brilliant,
Yeah.
right? He's done this big investigation in which they found that he actually did spend the night at Jeffrey Epstein's mansion in Manhattan, and I think it was maybe 2001, perhaps.
Perhaps in
where,
a bath.
Where Virginia, the girl who's accused him of basically having sex with her when she was underage, was not there at the time, but she said that he was there, but not with her. He's now been it's been exposed that he was actually there, and they've uncovered some kind of email which was sent confidentially to somebody in the royal household saying, "Oh yes, Prince Andrew will be staying with in a private residence that night, not with the ambassador."
Epstein wasn't there either, was he? Was
No.
Andrew just using the
So
press
Andrew
to
was there.
enforce
Well,
his
you
term?
say that, but I mean, do you really use Jeffrey Epstein's mansion as a place to dosk? Because the question would have to be asked, well, maybe he wasn't with Virginia, but maybe he was with someone else.
Yeah. And why doesn't he help the FBI
Yes.
as he promised?
Well, as I said, whenever
arrogance.
I was asked about him earlier in the year, in the Emily Maitlis interview, he said, "I will seek legal guidance," and you're a barrister, so you'll know how this works. And if my legal advisors say it's a good idea to talk to the FBI, that's what I'll do.
Yeah.
So you can only conclude that they've told him it's not a very good idea, and so he's not talking to them. And it's absolutely unbelievable that Prince Andrew, I mean, it's been a pretty horrible, crappy year for the Queen this year as well, with Harry and Meghan, and, you know, they don't even want her to see their child, and she's barely seen the baby since he was born, little Archie. Now her favourite son, Andrew, is all over the front pages again, and it's like, would you give your mother a break?
And,
would you?
Without being morbid, the Queen and Prince Philip are very elderly
Yeah.
now, and you know they have longevity in the family. And long may that continue. But you don't want to be going your possible final handful of years of all this crap.
No, it's awful.
He wants to get back into public life, which is appalling.
That's the other thing. Yeah, he thinks
keep
that
his mouth shut.
Yeah, he should go to America. He should talk to them, because it may well be that he hasn't done anything terrible, but it just looks awful, doesn't it?
But because you're a legal person, right? I'm going to use a posh word
Go
because
on.
I can speak legal. Is there any way of subpoenaing? You know, they must all
he's
have
outside the jurisdiction.
their diaries. Their diaries must all be archived. All the royal family diaries. You know what they do is detailed by the minute.
Of course it is.
So it's all going to be
Well, that's
written
the
down
other thing,
somewhere
right?
where
His
it
own
was.
his own daughter Beatrice was asked about the whole trip to Pizza Express, and she said she didn't remember going there. Right?
That was really quite.
Mind you,
brave
how old
of her.
was she? I can't remember.
Well, she was a problem.
12, I mean.
Yeah.
That's fair enough. But the
Well, the
officer
point,
who
but the
was
point is
there
that
died.
also, with regard to what you said about
Yeah.
you know keeping records of things, the royal security people will surely have a detail of where he was on that particular day.
Or if he wasn't where he was meant to be.
But the one person who was there sadly died.
Yeah.
But, you know, that'll set all sorts of conspiracies.
No, I feel
but
very
you're right
sorry
about
for
him.
Queen,
He
yeah.
deserves to be on that list because
Yes.
he seems to me like a thoroughly dishonest individual
Yes.
who's arrogant. And I can tell you a story about a mate of mine who served with him during the Falklands War.
Yeah.
They're all sitting around, terrible hardship, scary time, and the officers were given a treat once a week in the mess. So Andrew just went to nick one of the other people's treats and said, well, this is what happens when you're a royal. And a guy whose treat it was got a fork and shoved it right through his hand.
Ooh,
Good thing to
well done.
He was
Absolutely.
not popular with the guys.
Well, this is it, and
He has a
the
reputation
only
for
stories,
arrogance,
the only
yeah.
stories I've ever heard about him,
Yeah.
because I've never met him,
Spoiled brat.
are that he's very spoilt, that he expects to be treated differently to everybody else,
Yeah.
and you know he
And
demands
his
it.
nickname was Randy Andy, so it all.
Well, he doesn't drink. He just likes sex. Nothing wrong with sex, but I mean, you know, that was his thing.
That's the thing about people that don't drink. It's usually because
I'd
they're
much
sex
rather drink
maniacs.
than have sex. So.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the two
thank
don't
God for
always
that.
go together.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
Not anymore. They used to.
They used to, yeah.
One used to lead to the other.
They did, absolutely
now,
right.
Now it just leads to sleeping.
Sleeping.
It's true. It's true.
There's a mate of mine
Not
who
quite.
actually, there's a mate of mine who you've met, an artist. You've met him. If his flowers are wilting, he puts in a solution of Viagra.
Does he?
And it perks them up.
Does it really?
It does.
I don't believe that for a
That's
minute.
what he tells me.
I'm sure that's rubbish. Absolutely, that's rubbish. But that's not the first rubbish you've spouted on this show. Let's have your second nomination.
The second nomination, well, it's really a double act,
Okay.
actually. And that is Colleen Rooney.
Oh God.
And that ghastly woman Vardy. Now,
Yes.
The last time I was on this show, we were dealing with Johnny Depp.
That's
and
right.
we just sort of said, really, don't lawyers say, you're stuffed, mate. You're stuffed. Don't
Right.
do it. But there's so much money
Yeah.
here. Anyway, we all know the story, so I won't bore you with it. But the council...
Well,
the barrister-
I think you may need to just outline it, because
Well-
these are two wags, right, who have got more money than sense,
Yeah.
clearly, who have hired teams of lawyers
Yeah.
because of something that one of them said.
Well, oh yes, or
Right.
perhaps it was because all sorts of really, really fascinating stories,
Right.
top secret stories about what Wayne Rooney was wearing, which club he might go to,
Right.
got leaked to the Sun, which
Right.
is absolutely appalling.
Incredible.
So at a time when people are dying, at a time when there's a pandemic,
Yes.
at a time when the economy's going down the drain, they spend the money on that. This self-obsessed, ghastly bunch of overpaid people.
And also, they get to the High Court before lots of other more deserving people.
absolutely
I don't know
right.
how that works exactly. You can maybe tell me. But
Well,
how is it that
it's-
famous people
Oh,
seem to be able to get into
well,
court a lot
as
quicker?
we talked about Johnny Depp. Anyway, anyone with a half a brain knew that this is a case that Colin couldn't possibly win. And when her barrister gets up in court and just says, well, when she said these things, that it was from Rebecca Vardy's account,
Right.
She wasn't suggesting for a moment she was leaking stuff.
No.
What was she suggesting then?
Oh, God knows, I don't know, completely insane. So she loses the case. So what does Rebecca Vardy do? She comes up and says, I'm going to sue for libel. Oh, go
Oh,
away.
just give up.
Get a life and
Yeah.
shut up.
Right, because your reputation is so high in the eyes of the world
Exactly.
that you've somehow felt that it's been damaged.
Exactly.
Really?
She's married to Wayne Rooney.
Yeah.
For God's sake.
I know.
You know?
I mean,
I actually don't have a lot to say on this because I'm not interested in football.
No.
I'm not interested in the wags.
In the wags,
And you're
no.
right, it's so petty.
It's petty.
So you've they clearly were friends at some point because she was sharing gossip or just chatting on her, was it her Instagram or something?
it was her Instagram, yeah.
Do you know the answer?
Yeah.
What they should have done as a PR point of view and as a journalist point of view to a newspaper, they would have had a big hug, make-up, that had gone with their families to Barbados.
Yes.
And that, to show they were good friends, they would give some money to charity. Now, they may still hate each other,
Yeah.
but that's the way you do it.
But that's what you do.
It's like
Also,
Gillian Taylor.
because they've got more money than sense, as I said earlier, and they've got so much money that it's ridiculous.
Do you
It's
remember
just
Gillian
nonsensical.
Tailful? She was done for
Yep.
giving some chump along the A10.
Yes.
Classy
Was
woman.
he still
Yeah.
driving?
But
Was he
Well,
driving?
yes,
the great sort of defeater of that particular lawsuit was our friend Mr. Carman, was it not?
Yes.
Who managed to get the jury out into the outside of the court. I think it was at the High Court, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Into the car park to get a reenactment of said event.
Oh,
right?
what a perv.
No, because it won him the case.
Oh, right,
because
okay.
her suggestion was that she wasn't, in fact, engaging in an act of oral sex. I'm not repeating what you said because that's probably not suitable for a family audience. And she claimed that she was helping him with some stomach pains that he had. So George Carman, right? Was it George Carman?
Yes, George
Yeah,
Carman.
George Carman, who was the prosecuting or the prosecuting attorney, I suppose, basically said, you know, have a look at this. What could they possibly be doing? And the jury just went,
Yeah.
see what you mean? You know, that's not what you do when you're helping somebody with their stomach pains.
But it can relieve a lot.
So I
Fair,
believe
yeah.
that. I can vaguely remember it in the mists of time. But anyway, let's have your number 2 plank.
Okay, my number 2 plank is the New York Times.
Yes.
It's not so
Very
much
worthy.
the person that the story's about, who looks, from the when I was looking at the pictures, really nice guy. He's a fashion designer. He started out as a stylist. His clothes are lovely. He looks gorgeous. Not a problem with him. His name's Norris Dantaford. But what they're doing now, they're advertising the fact that he wants to bring community, promote diversity and inclusiveness into sewing.
Sewing.
And they want to call themselves sewists, which is the popular gender-neutral term.
Sewists.
Sewist, yeah. So this makes
Doesn't
me
sound right, that,
no,
does it?
it makes me want to vomit. It really does. And again,
Yeah.
it's nothing really against the young guy who clearly is a very talented designer, but just do what you want to
Yeah.
do. Stop banging on about it. And I was thinking,
Also, what would you call somebody who sews if it's not a
well, you'd
sewist?
be a tailor or
sew-
tailoress or
sewer?
machinist or
Yeah.
whatever. There are already terms for it, but you know,
A
Seamstress. There you go. See, that's gender
Or
specific.
it could be a seamster.
Seamster. I've never heard that. I've heard of
Teamster.
Teamsters,
But
not
this
Seamsters.
is- you know, look, Yves Saint Laurent, Karl Lagerfeld, John Richmond, who I used to wear, Alexander McQueen, Issey Miyake, Norman Hartnell. They
Christian
didn't seem
Dior.
to have Christian Dior. They didn't seem to have a problem breaking into sewing.
No.
So it's just, again, everything's getting processed through this preachy, oh, we've all got to be nice and diverse. And,
It's so ridiculous. I mean, I
do
was.
you have anybody with only one leg?
I know.
in the community?
I know.
You need to get
Well,
one
do you
of
know,
those,
I
you
saw a story the other week, and I couldn't quite believe it, but it turned out to be true, that somebody, I think, who had an amputee or something, they were an amputee of some description, something anyway about that, but they couldn't represent the people who worked in the company because the company didn't have anybody who had an amputation. So therefore, you know, there was a problem because somebody who didn't have the amputation might be affected. I mean, it was just so complicated. You're kind of going, what? I mean, there's a guy called James Wong who's made it onto Plank of the Week before, who's a gardening expert. He's on BBC quite a bit.
Oh, yeah.
And he's apparently come out this week and said that gardening is ostensibly racist.
Yes, I
Did you
didn't
see that?
understand that.
Well,
What did he
because
say?
he's basically saying, well, because of course, as you would know, if you were to put a sort of a garden, what they would call a tropical garden, into a part of your home, that would ostensibly and effectively be racist because you would be using things which weren't part
Is it
of your.
Oh, cultural appropriation.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
my hair
So
would
if you've
be
got a
cultural
cactus or
appropriation?
something, If you've got a cactus, that's obviously not what you would grow normally in this country.
Better
So
take
therefore,
down the 2 palm trees in my backyard.
you better
I
had.
don't want to get into trouble.
But I mean, it is mad, isn't it, that we've now got this ridiculous situation where people are trying to stop other people who haven't been offended yet from being offended.
So is Blackpool racist and all the
Probably.
coastal towns? All that, because
I would imagine
palm
so.
trees thrive in our blustery coastal towns,
Actually,
don't they?
cabbages. They are descended from cabbages.
What
Yeah.
palm trees are.
No, the palm trees we have in this country, the only ones that will grow that you get in your garden, I suspect, or your estate.
I once
My
knew somebody.
grinds.
I once knew somebody who bought a palm tree for his place in Portugal, and paid 10,000 quid for it.
Why?
And
Yeah,
it was
really?
shipped. And it was shipped in from Morocco. Or
Well, when
something.
I left my house in Dartmouth Park, I'd been there 20 years and I planted this little palm tree. And when we left, it was nearly the height of the house.
Oh, wow.
And we toyed with the idea of digging it up and taking it on
Yeah.
the lorry because they are so expensive.
'Cause they're so
But
expensive.
I left it there. It belonged there.
You could have added it onto the
It
value
did
of the house.
belong in my garden,
Right.
the palm tree.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. So the New York Times is a very good plank, though, because they've done an awful lot of really, really plankish things over the course of the last few weeks. And it used to be, when I was living there back in the 80s, it was actually quite a decent paper. It was always boring, and it was always quite tedious. And I never forget, on the day that 9/11 happened, they didn't even blow the front page. They just did a normal front page that happened to have a picture of the Twin Towers on fire. But they didn't. But they had other stories around it. I mean, every newspaper in the world was like, whammo, big picture of the plane going in or something. They didn't think it was enough of an event
like
to
a
do
ledger.
that. Yeah, it was just like, well, obviously that's the main story on the
Yeah.
page, but we better do all these other stories about, gardening in the Bronx or whatever. It's very odd, very strange. My second one is Jeremy Corbyn. You'll be pleased
Jeremy
to know.
Corbyn.
No, Jeremy Corbyn.
Corbyn.
Just when you thought it was safe to completely and utterly abandon all hope when it comes to Jeremy Corbyn, he actually put out a tweet this week and said, tomorrow I will be announcing a new project, which I'm very excited about, as if anybody actually gave us stuff, right? And it turns out that the following day, and people were, of course, making fun of him the night before, saying, what are you, opening a new shed in your allotment, or, are you welcoming the head of Hezbollah to your house for Christmas, all this kind of thing.
Again.
And of course, it turns out that he was launching a new project, which is called Peace and Justice. So the Peace and Justice campaign of some description. However, the main reason I'm putting him in as a plank, apart from the sanctimonious nature of his announcement, where he wore this ridiculous sort of, even more ridiculous than your jacket, sort of powder blue jacket. He's got very odd tasting clothes, I have to say. And he's sitting there looking very pious and talking about how important it is. I mean, this in the same year that he's been kicked out of his own party for anti-Semitism, right? Talking about peace and justice. I mean, really? It's really not a good look. He doesn't mention Jewish people at all either in monologue.
But he never did.
But no, he doesn't like to mention them because I think that's part of the problem. He doesn't quite see the problem at all. He forgot to register the domain name of the organisation, which meant, unfortunately, that as in these times these things happen, somebody hijacked it and started pushing a load of porn out on it, right? And so when you did click on the link, you didn't get taken to the new peace and justice world of Jeremy Corbyn. You got taken to some rather nasty and rather
I wonder if it was a Jewish person.
hardcore porn.
That
Well,
brought up a
I wonder
debate.
if
That'd
it
be really
was.
funny.
But I mean, it's proof as if you needed it that you can't actually, operate anything without it going horribly wrong.
No.
So thank God he didn't win the
He
election
just
last year.
hasn't matured as a person, it seems to me.
No.
You use this expression all the time, student politics. It's that at his age.
It's like but also he's like a parody of
Yeah.
what you would, if you were to invent a kind of left.
Dave Spark.
Yeah,
You remember
Dave
in
Spark.
Drive
Yes,
Away, he's Dave
yeah.
Spark.
Well, Citizen Smith. He's married to
Wolfie.
this Venezuelan free trade coffee millionaire, right? Who's so wealthy that he doesn't even have to work. But he continues to work. He continues to be angry about all sorts of stuff. Remember that great scene of him going into the taxi when he slams the door so hard that if anybody's hand had been caught in it, the hand would have come off, And he just seems to be so bitter and angry about everything all the time. He has no sense of humour. He's never laughing.
He
is
thought he won the election. He thought he was
Yeah.
robbed.
Right.
But
The media.
Don't you think he does the thing which will come on to my third victim? He
Yes.
does this alternative court thing. So he starts something up. I'm
Yeah.
going to start Peace and Justice.
Right. Right.
Or, you know, from the backbenches, I'm going to cause trouble. I'm going to create a club, a cult, a thing.
Right.
He's got his own thing going on. That's a thorn in the side of.
Well, this is it. I mean,
everybody
all these
else,
people who say the great thing about Jeremy Corbyn is he's fought racism all his life. Oh, really? Well, what he's done all his life mostly is travel around lots of parts of the Middle East, which don't seem to have any Jewish people in them. You know, goes to Lebanon a lot, goes to Palestine loads, you know, talks to lots of people in the Palestinian movement, but doesn't seem to have much time for Israel.
And invited Sinn Féin, which were then
Yes.
connected to the IRA,
Yes.
within a few weeks of people
And then claimed
who were murdered.
and claimed that he was part of the peace process, which was the most insidious part of it, because he definitely wasn't.
He'd hired a researcher who was an IRA supporter, and I raised it in the House of Commons and reminded me the other day. I'd totally forgotten about it.
You know, I'd totally forgotten, but Carol, you may not have known this, that he was also once a Tory MP.
Yeah.
One of the decent ones as well.
Yeah. 83 to 97. A nation mourned.
Yeah.
97.
Yes.
I was raised a poor child in council flats in Liverpool. So, my father stood to be a Labour councillor once, and my parents would vote Labour without even looking at the manifesto.
Yeah.
You just, we're a Labour family, and that's it, you know. So I've actually voted for every party, because I sort of go, yeah, I'll give that a shot. And I voted for Tony Blair because I liked the idea of a young family going into number 10. I actually thought it's not going to be some fusty old guy.
Well, it was very appealing, wasn't it?
Yeah. It's like he's going to be like us.
Yeah.
He's got kids, he's got school run, he's got stuff to do. He's
Yeah.
going to be modern. He's got, you know, so you do all these things with the best of intentions.
Yeah.
And this time I voted for Boris, and now I'm
Wishing you hadn't.
wishing I hadn't.
But
But I don't know who else there would have.
But there
been.
wasn't really an alternative.
There was
that's
no
the thing.
alternative. There was no alternative. But Tony asked me to join New Labour, and I said, mate, you know, you're a bit too right-wing for me.
Well, they used to call him
Yeah,
Tory
he's
Blur.
one of the original wets.
No.
over
Oh,
there.
yeah, I was one of the wets.
Tory Blur. Was
Yeah, that's
I was one
right.
of the
I
wets.
love that.
Blue Labour was
Yeah.
what they used to be known as, wasn't it? Let's have your third one.
Oh, mine?
Yeah.
Ah, right, I'm going to get this wrong. I can never pronounce it, and you know more about football than I do, which is not a high bar.
That's not a high bar.
No, Jack Grealish?
Grealish.
Grealish.
Near enough.
Grealish, there you
Jack
go.
Grealish.
Yes.
Jack Grealish.
It's an unusual name.
Yeah, it's a very unusual name. Aston Villa captain.
Yes.
England football.
Yes.
Well, he went out on the Raz.
Didn't he just?
Before he went out on the Raz.
And did he not also go out on the Raz during lockdown? Wasn't it during lockdown?
Better than that, he sent out a little tweet saying, obey the rules, stay at home, all this sort of stuff. And he went out on the Raz and got, how can I put this, thoroughly plankered
Yes.
at a friend's house, and then decided, do you know what? I'll drive home.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Very
Great idea.
Like a Dodgem car.
Yes.
A Dodgem car. Bang, 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 bang. And
He hit about 15 cars, I
So
think.
he was
did.
blind drunk.
90,000
terrible.
pounds worth of damage to his enormous thing. And now
I think he was in a Range Rover at the
It was a
time.
Range Rover, but
Yeah.
a big, you know, big Range
Yeah, yeah.
Rover. Yeah. And then he's been done again for speeding,
Mm.
and he's been done, I think, to the tune of £84,000, because each sentence.
Well, here's the
being
thing for you,
consecutive.
right? They now charge you, don't they, regarding how much income you have. So they give you a penalty, which I think is entirely
Like
wrong,
a
by the way.
percentage thing.
A
I
percentage
think
thing
we've
on
got
what your
rid of
income
that,
is.
because I got done for speeding years ago. I was on the way to do a programme for Anglia TV, and I was stopped by a police.
Hmm. Well, that is a long time ago, isn't
It
it?
is a long
That's
time
on
ago
anymore.
when it was a decent
Anglia
channel.
TV.
And this guy, police officer, says, "Oh, good evening, sir. Oh, yes. Oh, yes, sir. I think you were speeding." I said, "Look, I'm terribly sorry. I'm rushing to this TV programme."
Yeah.
I said, you know, "Oh, by the way, sir, you're now MP. What are you doing about Sunday trading?" I said, "Well, actually, I could be." "Yeah, I'm all in favour of it." "And what would God say about that?" So
Oh,
I said,
dear.
"But I could always change my mind." Are you threatening to bribe a police? I thought, sorry,
Yeah.
this is tricks. But I had to give my income as an MP per week to the court.
Yeah.
I hadn't got a clue. I
Right.
didn't know how much I knew how much I was earning every year.
Right.
I didn't know how much it was a week.
No, but I think now
It's
they
gone back
do.
again,
I think
has
no. I think that what they now do is they take into account how much money you make,
Oh.
and they can fine you. Because was it not Anton? You know, it was Ant, wasn't it? Who got done?
Ant, oh, yeah.
He paid some ludicrous amount, like 86,000, similar to Grealish.
Well, I got done for speeding. This is back in the early 90s, so I'd just taken possession of a brand new MX-5.
Very
they were
nice.
the car, you know, they were absolutely
Yeah,
head turned.
absolutely.
And I was writing with a guy out in the Cotswolds, and I was going back to North London, and I had our new demo, came away with the cassette, I think, and you know how loud rock music makes you put your foot down?
Yeah.
I hadn't been drinking or anything, I'd been working.
Yeah.
So I'm M40, back to North London,
Yeah. Fast road.
I was doing 115 miles an hour. I was really young.
That should
and
get you a
confident.
ban, shouldn't it?
Well, I had to get a brief. So we went to court, and the way he got me, and I was in a suit, put on a suit and everything. I looked very, prim and sorry.
Sorry,
everything,
yes, I'm very sorry.
And the way my brief got me off was to tell the judge that I hadn't had a hit for years. And if he took my car away, I couldn't travel around and write with people and earn money. And I was going, yeah, all right.
Yeah, easy, steady.
It's not what you want to see in the front page of the Daily Mail.
Did that get in the papers as well?
No, it didn't, because I wasn't important enough. But it cost me 700 quid, and I got and 3 points.
That's
So
all
it's
right.
But
That's
you know,
not
I
bad.
was
I've only
first
ever
to
been
get
done
it.
for speeding once in my life, and it was many, many years ago. And I was coming into Hungerford, funnily enough, from Marlborough. And if you know the A4, you come into Hungerford, and it's like down a hill. And there was this policeman hiding in a bush, effectively, which they're not meant to do, apparently. But I had to go. I was going to fight it, but it was Reading Crown Court, and I would have had to take a day off. I would have had to go to Reading, and I thought. And I was already working on the radio, and I thought, worst case scenario, the judge is going to throw the book at me and go, you think you can get away with anything. And I was literally, I was coming into a 30, doing about 40, because it was from a 60, And in the end, I just paid the fine, which wasn't very much, and I got 3 points for a couple of years, and that was it.
Part of the prosecution against me was territorial, because I was in the Cotswolds.
Yeah.
I think you can come and do what you like round
Yeah.
here in my
Londoners,
manor.
bloody
And I had to go,
Londoners.
no, I'm so sorry. Like that.
I mean, considering the sort of stuff you now see, because I drive around quite a bit and I go up and down to Sussex, some of the driving now is so bad, but there's no cops out there to catch anyone, and the speed cameras don't appear to work. I mean, almost every speed camera that I go by, you see people racing past them. They don't flash anymore.
Remember in early lockdown when no one was driving anywhere? People who then did start driving, they were on the wrong side of the road. They were going through red lights. I saw.
Yeah, there was like a sort of
craziness.
free-for-all.
I know. I saw nutty driving then. Yeah.
Unbelievable. So we need your third one, don't we?
Yep. And of course, she has to make it on because it's,
It is that year, isn't it?
It is that
It's
year.
got to be her.
It's
Meghan. People now say that when they see her
a little bit
speak,
hairy.
they just imagine my voice now, because I do this impersonation of Meghan. Just about surviving.
Well, folks will know she gave her CNN speech
Yes.
for the quiet heroes or the silent heroes, whatever it is. And they've launched their woke awards.
Communities of compassion.